The US is buried under a mountain of debt, $35 trillion and climbing. It's a number so large that most people just tune it out. 35 trillion. Sure, whatever that means. But this isn't some abstract accounting trick or harmless government figure. That money was borrowed in your name. Here's how it really works. Every year, Washington spends far more than it earns. To fill the gap, it prints IOUs called Treasury bonds, promises to pay later with interest. Those bonds are sold to investors, banks, and foreign nations like China and Japan. In return, America gets cash to fund everything from wars to welfare. It's like the government maxing out a credit card, except the bill never stops growing, and the interest alone is already over $1 trillion a year. So who owes the money? The US government. Who lent the money? Investors and countries who trust the dollar. And who ultimately pays it back? You. Through higher taxes, shrinking savings, and the silent thief called inflation, the one that makes your paycheck buy less every single year. In short, Washington borrows, Wall Street trades, and Main Street pays the bill. But what if the government has quietly decided that it will never pay that bill, at least not in the way we think? What if the plan isn't to repay the debt, but to reset it? $35 trillion. That's America's national debt, a number so big most people can't even visualize it. But here's the strange thing. The US doesn't seem worried. The markets still hum. The dollar still rules. The politicians still argue as if debt were just another campaign word. Because in a sense it is. See, America discovered a long time ago that debt isn't just an obligation. It's a weapon, a machine that powers growth, control, and illusion. The United States owes the world $35 trillion. But the world needs those dollars to function. It's a trap, one built over 80 years, starting with Bretton Woods in 1944. Back then, the US promised the world something simple. Every dollar could be redeemed for gold, stability guaranteed. But in 1971, Nixon broke that promise. Gold was out. The dollar was now pure belief, a system running on trust, momentum, and the fear of chaos. Fast forward 50 years. Every administration kept spending more, borrowing more, printing more, and yet the system didn't collapse. Why? Because every other country was doing the same thing, but none had the world's reserve currency. America could issue infinite IOUs, and people would still accept them. Debt became the new gold. Imagine you're running a small business. You borrow to expand, hire more workers, take on new projects. As long as you can pay interest, you look successful, even if your books are bleeding red. That's America. Every year, the country borrows just to pay the interest on what it already owes. It's like refinancing your credit card with another credit card. And yet, it still works. Because the US Treasury isn't just a borrower. It's the source of the world's safest asset. Banks, pension funds, and governments around the world line up to buy US debt, like worshippers at a temple of paper. That's the illusion. But behind the illusion, cracks are forming. Interest payments are exploding. In 2025, America will spend more just to pay interest than on its entire defense budget. Imagine working full-time just to cover the interest on your old loans, never touching the principal. That's the US government right now. Meanwhile, ordinary people are starting to feel it. Mortgage rates doubled, credit card debt hit record highs. Small businesses can't refinance their loans. Prices stay sticky, not rising fast but never falling back down. Everyone is paying more for less. In a coffee shop in Ohio, a couple jokes that their retirement plan is to die before their savings run out. In California, a small manufacturer can't find workers because they'd rather drive Uber. Flexible, immediate cash, no illusions of security. That's what happens when a society lives on borrowed time. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The United States can never pay this debt back. It's mathematically impossible. Even if Washington taxed every billionaire at 100%, it wouldn't make a dent. So what's the real plan? The real plan, the one no one says out loud, is never to pay it back at all. Instead, America will do what empires always do, change the rules of money itself. The dollar is no longer a measure of value, it's a lever of control. When the burden of debt grows too large, you don't reduce it, you redefine it. How? Through inflation? Through monetary resets? through digital currencies that can rewrite balance sheets without printing a single new bill. That's the part most people don't see coming. The debt is not the end of the system. It's the pretext for transforming it. The US isn't panicking because it already knows the next phase, a digital reset, where money becomes programmable, traceable, and controllable. In that world, debt can vanish not by repayment but by redesign. Your dollars might still exist, but under new rules. So when you hear about $35 trillion, don't picture a mountain of cash. Picture a lever, a quiet tool reshaping the entire financial order, from your grocery bill to global trade routes. The question isn't, how will they pay it back? It's, who will pay the price when they don't? If you've ever stared at your bank app and wondered whether the numbers there are real, you're asking the same questions central bankers have been quietly debating for years. Because the truth is, money has already gone digital. What's coming next is something entirely different. Money that can think, decide, and disappear. See, the US knows its $35 trillion problem can't be solved the old way. You can't tax or cut your way out of a mountain that size. So the new idea isn't T to fix the debt, it's S to absorb it into a new system, a reset that redefines what a dollar even means. The whispers began inside the Fed and the BIS years ago. CBDC, central bank digital currency. It sounds harmless, like an upgrade. Faster payments, less fraud, smoother transactions. But beneath the surface, it's a blank check for reinvention. Every digital dollar can be tracked, traced, and, in theory, reprogrammed. You don't erase $35 trillion by paying it off. You erase it by changing the spreadsheet. Now here's where it gets cinematic. Across the Pacific, China's already been testing its own version, the ECNY. It's programmable, geo-limited, and fully integrated into their Golden Corridor, the Belt and Road Initiative. They call it digital convenience. But in truth, it's a financial firewall, a way to build trade routes that bypass the US dollar entirely. That's why gold suddenly reappeared on everyone's radar. When countries like China, Russia, and even smaller economies started hoarding gold in record amounts, they weren't decorating vaults. They were building trust outside of dollars. Because gold, unlike digital code, can't be deleted. And the US, it saw that. It panicked quietly. While China built digital gold corridors tied to physical reserves, the US bet on the opposite, data as collateral. They don't want a new gold standard. They want a digital standard where value is backed by network power. That's why you keep hearing about the tokenization of treasury bonds, digital payment rails, and real-time settlement systems. They're not random tech upgrades. They are bricks in a new system designed to survive inflation, control liquidity, and quietly reset what's owed. Because if everything becomes tokenized, what stops the government from freezing, offsetting, or redenominating debt balances overnight? Nothing. It's the cleanest debt erasure in history, done not through war or bankruptcy, but through code. Picture this. One morning, the Treasury announces a new digital dollar initiative. All old bonds are to be migrated to a digital ledger for efficiency. The terms adjust. The yields reset. Suddenly, $35 trillion becomes $20 trillion in new value terms. Markets cheer, politicians smile, the system survives. But the catch? Your money's now programmable too. Expiration dates on stimulus, spending categories tied to policy goals, a digital fence around what your dollars can and can't do. For ordinary people, it starts as convenience. For small businesses, it's compliance, and before anyone realizes, it's control. Here's the irony, this reset might actually work. Temporarily, the economy stabilizes. Inflation cools because spending is literally managed by code. The debt to GDP ratio drops because the definition of debt changes. It's genius, terrifying genius. Meanwhile, the rest of the world splits into two philosophies. The gold path led by China, wealth tied to something tangible. The digital path led by America, wealth tied to something programmable. It's not capitalism versus communism anymore. It's gold versus code. Material trust versus algorithmic trust. For regular people, the battle feels invisible, but its effects are everywhere. Your grocery prices, your mortgage rates, your retirement account, all ripple with decisions made by invisible code. And the craziest part? Most of us are participating without knowing it. Every time you tap your phone, buy crypto, use Apple Pay, you're helping test the architecture of a world where money doesn't need you to believe in it anymore. It believes in itself. The question is, what happens when belief becomes obedience? A digital reset won't come with fireworks. It'll come as an update. A smoother, faster, safer economy, with just a few new rules. And one morning you'll wake up and realize the debt's gone, but so is your privacy. The reset worked, just not for you. Empires used to fall when their coins lost value. Now they'll transform when their code changes meaning. And somewhere in the middle, ordinary people, workers, small business owners, dreamers, will keep doing what they've always done, adapt, survive, and hope the next update doesn't crash their future. Because in the end, America's secret plan isn't really about erasing debt. It's about rewriting what debt means, and the real story isn't the $35 trillion. Say it is the quiet trade-off between freedom and convenience, a choice we were all being asked to make, one tap at a time.